Hi, Rick Rice with another Rick Talk. This one is again from one of the design books from Robin Williams, and we're talking about type and design, and we're talking about combining more than one typeface, or type style together, and some really simple but straightforward and important concepts that can help you better understand how to make things that are effective visually and to stay away from things and layouts and designs that don't work very well. So the first idea here is that whenever we combine various elements of any kind, a dynamic relationship is created or is established. And type, of course, is one of the basic building blocks of all printed pages. And usually, even in something fairly simple, a page that's fairly simple, there's usually more than one type element on a page. Even if we think of just simple body copy, we are going to have headlines and subheadlines and other categories of information. And so between these various elements, specifically the typography elements, but all of the elements on the page, the idea is that one of three basic dynamic relationships is going to be established. And it's the terminology that we're going to use here is concordant, conflicting, and contrasting. And we're going to look at these three basic concepts as a way of guiding us to better understand how to do and make and create effective pages. Okay? So, concordant, conflicting, and contrasting. First off, concordant. Concordant isn't really a bad thing. It just sometimes is a bit quiet, as we say here, and calm, and that's not necessarily bad. Sometimes a bit formal, but also sometimes a bit dull. And think of concordant as sort of middle of the road, mediocre. And when you use, for instance, just one type family without much variation, maybe you use italics or larger size, but the other elements have essentially the same qualities. And look at this example I have at the bottom of the page. I've used the standard Helvetica or Arial, and of course you see my name, Rick Rice, all in caps. Not bad looking, clean, easy to read, but nothing very fancy. And then underneath, and although it's smaller type and upper and lower case and italic, it's the same typeface for designer and visual communicator. And so that's an example of what we're talking about. Not bad looking, but not exactly real dazzling either. And it can be a very solid and useful concept, but it doesn't create exciting dynamic pages, okay? Because again, everything has pretty much the same sort of quality, even though there are those slight variations within the same typeface. Then we have what we certainly want to avoid, absolutely, is visual elements that conflict with each other. And again, we're focusing here on type and type styles and typefaces and combining them. with these concepts. And so when typefaces conflict, it's because you have combined more than one typeface that is not the same as you might in concordant, but typefaces that are different but similar, and too much the same in style or size or weight, and they fight each other. And so it bothers us, even if we're not trained to know exactly what the problem is. We might very well have a sense that this isn't really quite working. And the issue is they're not very different, but not the same. So they conflict, okay? And it is in the similarities that is the problem. And we want to emphasize that. Look at the similarities. And if there are some similarities, again, like the example at the bottom of the page here, I have a decorative, fancy, kind of a fun font for my name. And then underneath it, though smaller and a different typeface, it is still a decorative sort of, looks like chalkboard type style for designer and visual communicator. And the problem is they're both really quite distinctive and have strong personalities each on their own, and so together they conflict. Okay, they conflict. So the problem is in the similarities, and that's what should be avoided. All right, and then where we want to go is in the last of these three concepts, and that is in contrasting. We want to contrast type styles when we want to combine more than one. And strong contrasts definitely attract our eyes. And the idea, especially compared from the previous slide where we were talking about conflicting, we want to combine elements and type that are very different. Often a simple, effective way to get it, of course, is with the type, and certainly that needs to be considered because, once again, remember that on most printed pages, and in my opinion, it's one of the main things that makes visual communication very distinct from, let's say, fine art. In visual communication, advertising, etc., you are generally trying to communicate a concept, an idea, some information. And we need to attract the audience. Okay? So we want to combine elements and type that are very different. And certainly type is one of the main things that we need to look at. And the most exciting designs, visually exciting designs, generally have a lot of contrast. Okay? And I often say to my students, in general, if you do just one thing that makes a layout stronger, it is to add some contrast. We're focusing here on type, but it just might be make an element, a primary element, much bigger. Maybe make it a much brighter contrasting color. Okay, so if you do just one thing that'll probably improve your layouts, it would be to add some contrast. And here, again, look at the example here at the bottom of the page. My name is in what we call a sans serif. Doesn't have the little feet. Big, bold, blocky typeface. And then below it, for designer and visual communicator, I used a dramatically thinner serif italic. Serif means it has those little feet on all of the letters. And so clearly in every way, shape, and form, these two type styles contrast quite a bit. And in fact, if we look at the other solutions from the previous slides, you, I think, would agree that this is visually the most striking and strongest of the bunch. And it's because it uses contrasting type styles to really make a visual contrast. And again, these are adopted from Robin Williams, not the comedian, but the terrific design book creator and writer, and her non-designer's design book, a terrific little book, not hard on the eyes and not too many pages, and it belongs on every designer's shelf. And certainly if you are just learning and trying to learn how to do be a better visual communicator and a better designer, this book has some very simple, concrete ways that you can learn to do that. And this is one of them. You want to strive for contrast. All right. That brings us to the end, and thanks for sitting through another Rick Talk, and I'm going to keep putting more of them up there, and so come on back, and hope this stuff helps in your work. Thanks very much. Have a great day.